Menteri Rangba jong kejala Conrad sangma ula pencai pai ba mentaka sengi sautarik ujeliu arajar arhuai ba kejengki phalo akabere ba kejeng IT yiki kam jong ka MECL chiki company ke bana bar jela kam dei setia ka kam kabala rai da ka kenhun menteri nei kadang dei ka kam ka ba ka kenhun menteri ka nei kran biang hakini ki tayo ka banwan apa pencai ya kejengki ne kejeng persya jong ki nyungut ke mini giant hills Conrad sangma ula ong ba kaladan ka jingalang hapeng jong ka power department ba ka finance department Ula persyaru badai ke finance department kepada penbor di kata boarding jong kejela pakan IT ke Pynīaid ada ban pek yaki jing sam boarding po Janta Hills po East Castle District lain no Chelong bat ke West Castle District nomor ba kadon Shibun ya karam ya ke ba kata boarding ke devan siu dan ni ba ka emisir ke devan siu chuki company ke sam boarding sakajela nakasnem susu Conrad ula ong ba kalun lan di karam Haduh Ñiuhmat kalong parat hajar klur bat kalong ke ba Shibun ya ka sorkar jela bakanya siu lele bakanya yarap ya ka BCL bakan siudap ya ka nikaram manta ka daw nakalyang jaka finance department uli thu bakal ajungmut ya ka power department bakan sim de ka nikalat kalenti namar baka REC kala penbor bakala patha ya ka sorkar jela bakan siudap ya ka nikaram hagani kisnam ki banwan.
We had a large amount of dues from NIPCO and NTPC and other agencies which have built up in the last many years. And that amount came up along with the charges, surcharges to approximately 1,300 crores plus. Just to give a comparative analysis to everyone, the second highest state in terms of NTPC, Meghalaya owed about 500 crores to NTPC. The second highest state was Manipur, which was 70 crores. And all the other states in the northeast were below that. The total amount of dues from other states also to these large companies, generation companies, was within the range of 20, 50 to about 100 crores. Whereas Meghalaya's total dues along with surcharges was 1,340 crores. So we had an exceptionally high outstanding to many companies outside, generation companies. Therefore, the government decided that we'll take the Atmanirbhar loan. Now, when we took the Atmanirbhar loan, the REC released the first tranche to us of the 50% and the PFC. For the second tranche, looking at the exceptionally high amount that is due to these different companies and the fact that the loan amount is going to be large, the REC and the PFC required the government of Meghalaya to give a guarantee and put a budgetary provision for the repayment for MECL in our budget. Which means that if MECL is not in a position to repay the interest and the principal amount every month, then REC will be able to deduct that amount from our taxes directly from RBI. Now, REC wanted Meghalaya government to do the entire 100% of the repayment to be put in the budgetary proposal and put into the finance head so that the payments would be made to REC. Now, also I would like to clarify that why we went for this kind of Atmanirbhar loan is because if we did not, there would be a high risk of our powers being cut all the time, which is a very troublesome aspect for all of us. So therefore, we decided that once and for all, we will repay and we'll be able to ensure that the power is stable for us. Number two reason why we went for this is because the surcharges that we pay to NTPC and NIPCO are at 18%. And today, if we take this loan, it is at half the rate, which is 9.5%. So therefore, even from the interest point of view, it made much bigger sense and savings for us to go for this rather than pay the surcharges of 18% to NIPCO and to others and NTPC. So that is why we went for the loan. Now, what is the situation we face today? Is that government, or rather the REC, has made that condition mandatory. The finance department strongly felt that we cannot afford to pay the entire amount of the loan repayment, which will be close to 120 crores for the first 3 years and will jump to 300 crores because the principal amount will come in after the 3 years. So therefore, Finance Department objected to this point. We talked to REC and said, what is the option that we have? And then the REC said that there are a lot of the circles within MECL which are having AT&C losses ranging from anything between 30% to 72% AT&C losses. Therefore, REC said, if you cannot give us the entire budgetary provision or the guarantee the entire loan amount to the state finances, then a certain percentage of the distribution franchises may be outsourced to the REC so that they will run and manage it.
Haka juga por la ongru bakane kajeng persang man Aiti Pynīaid ya kajeng samboding hakane kilai tali ki jaka kalongru man ailat ya kajeng samboding ka bakhamba ya kajeng penbi pisa ka bakhamba naka liang jong kibel ba komjuru khnang ba ka MECL ka don goi pat ki kenhun ya ka bakhaban yakob na kamta kajeng trekam ka bakhamba menteri ba ola panchairu bakane kajeng IT cheki company ki beri nabar jala ya kajeng Pynīaid ya kajeng samboding kamdon setia ta kanu kajeng IT ya ki jaka ki puta adi kitar na kalong bai thek ak preng kajeng penbet joka MECL mat ka REC na kamta kajeng trekam ka bakhamba oleh thuru menakaliang ka kenhun menteri menakasngi apa kresyong ula pensya ya barok ke menteri ke belana pok ke jalang badia karai ke bakhadu on system haka jalang juga kunhun menteri ke banlong haka ni kateo ke banwan.
There are two aspects when it comes to the circles. One aspect is regarding the 25%. Now this 25% is determined on the basis of the amount of millions of units that are infused or input into the power system. So the 25% should be the 25% of the entire input that the MECL does from a generation company. So for example, if we are inputting 1000 million units, then 250 million units has to be given as a distribution franchise. Now when you look at those numbers, the only way to match and come to 250 was only by looking at certain circles. So not all were coming in. Somewhere we're mixing it was coming to 150, somewhere mixing it we're coming to 200, somewhere we're mixing it's coming into 300. So we had to look at the combinations of which circles will be able to give us that 250 amount. So that was one part that or one factor that we have to consider while making a decision. That's number one. Number two, we also have to look at the factor of where the losses are. So, for example, a place like Shillong city and a place like RiKhasi. Now, these places are the highest earning revenue generation circles, and there are also circles where the AT&C losses are 13% and 15%, very low. So there is no question of giving it to them because there is no question of improving anything. It's already improved, it's already doing very well, and it's the highest earning circles. So obviously, based on that, we will not and cannot give, even if we decide, which we have not decided yet, even if we decide to go for a distribution franchising, it cannot be these two circles because they are our best performing circles. And there is no need to give it to them because there is no improvement in it. Then comes to the question of other circles. So therefore, based on the permutation combinations, there are certain districts or certain circles which are at 70% AT&C losses, certain at 30%. So these 30% to 40% AT&C losses, where I think that's where we feel a distribution franchising can come in and improve and give some kind of overall revenue growth in the revenue of MECL and for their revenues also. So this point being made that the best circles are being given is completely wrong. In fact, it's the challenging circles which are being looked into. But since there is a restriction or there's a certain constraint in terms of the 25% which we have to meet, so the permutation combination of that is limited. So we have to see which ones we can do. Again, no decision has been made. Discussions are being done on what will be the best way to move forward. And therefore, we have, as I said, met as a cabinet, and a presentation has been given, and the cabinet colleagues felt that let us sit on Wednesday, let us absorb these numbers, because what I told you just now is just 15%, 20% of all the data that was shown to the ministers, and they have understood the complexity of the situation. They've understood that both have got decisions have got plus and minus, and therefore we need to really carefully think about it and then decide on how to move forward. But one thing is clear, as I said, which I want to again repeat myself, is that there is no question of handing over any assets. There is no question of employees being affected. It's only purely a question of whether state government will bail out MECL 100%, or we will give some responsibility to them to improve themselves also. That's really the crux of the question.